Yeah, I'm getting annoyed now. What is this, like the 4th time I've gone live? Oh god. All right. I'm just gonna wait for the room to fill up again. You'll excuse me, and I'm also hold on. I need to sit up straight, man. Posture. I'm also trying to get it back up on the rock fins. Jared is asking, "Are we live? Is it up? Is it gonna stay up? I don't know. That's what she said. No, but I've resorted to using my my phone now. So I'm using my phone's internet for my computer because I don't know. I guess I have some I have some fans over at the over at my ISP, right? Soda says, I forgot everything about what he was talking about. Don't worry, I'll get back to it. You know, we're just waiting for the room to fill up. But I think that's bullshit, honestly. Like, there's something going on here because, okay, I mean, my computer is old and shitty. What is it, like 7 years old now? Which, yes, is shitty in computer years. But I mean, come on. I've streamed for like 7 hours before, right? Longer. What's the record that we did? We're gonna beat it. So I don't know what's going on, honestly, but this is fucking bullshit, and this is not fair. No, we got like 8 viewers now. I mean, I love all 8 of you. I'm just saying that, you know, we were more plentiful not too long ago. So again, I'm gonna try and whatever, man. I'm just gonna do my job if they're gonna let me. I'm just gonna try and do my job if they're gonna let me. So I appreciate your guys' patience most of all, because you know I couldn't do this without you guys. What really annoys me is that the super chats you guys sent I can't see them anymore because this is like a new stream now. So I'm really sorry, but I will try to read them for you and see if I can get them. Neil says you should call your ISP tomorrow. Okay, let me explain something to you guys. There's one ISP over here, and I think they just got bought by they got well, what's interesting is that they already had a monopoly, but now T-Mobile bought them, and they are horrendous. I'm scared saying that. Are they going to cut off my internet again for the 5th time? No, but I think this is bullshit because their service is terrible, and I don't know what to do. Like I said, I'm using my phone's internet now, like with a tethering, I think it's called. So yeah. I should definitely get that cable replaced though. So again, I know we're not here to talk about fucking internet cables, but I'm just waiting for the room to fill up. So you will pardon me. Jared says we need a new internet. Yes, we do. In every sense of that of the term. I mean, less censorship. The internet was not designed to be the way big tech companies want it to be. I mean, yes, they they've connected people around the world, but I'm talking about the fact that they're extensions, they're arms of the national security state. No, thank you. Anyway, Mona says, I thought Richie was done. How dare you? I'm never done. I'm going to be ranting when I'm fucking dead, man. You best believe that shit. They better make a fucking head out of me. In Futurama, they had like Richard Nixon in a goddamn, what is that thing called? A thing, they had people like they would keep them alive. You best believe they're gonna do that shit with me, man. But then I'll be reduced to nothing but a talking head. That's sad. No, we're not MSNBC hosts, so don't worry. But let's get back on topic, guys. Let's get back on topic. Pepper Rants, thank you for the super chat. I will most definitely be using that to upgrade this shitty computer and the internet, right? So yeah. Where were we? Mona, I love you. I love you, Mona. Cyber says might want to get a new router or router, as the Americans say. Yes, that's also another idea worth contemplating because, yeah, that might be worth it. Anyway, so Waterfall says Richie will go to hell to throw shoes at war criminals. Motherfucker, you best bet. I'm bringing the whole shahata, mahal shahata with me, right? So shahata is a slipper. I think in Spanish they say Chankala. I'm not. I don't know. I never know if I'm saying that correctly. Chankala. But yeah. So Gemini Socialist is Richie. Thanks for streaming. Of course, with absolute pleasure. Although not in the sense of the topics we're covering, but I mean it's a pleasure to stream with you. So yes. Unfortunately, the topics we're talking about are quite heartbreaking. So I think we're live on Rockfin again. We should be, hopefully, inshallah. And now the room is filled up on YouTube, so I'll get back to the segment in a second. And thank you again for, supporting the show. Hopefully I'll be able to upgrade some of the, hunk of junk over here, this pile of junk. I think it's time. So, yeah, okay, where's Sani? I'm still seeing an issue on Rockfin. Give me a second. And again, thank you to all of you who actually do watch on Rockfin, because we want to move away from YouTube, right? We definitely want to move away from YouTube. So okay, I hope it's working there. In any case, let me just put this back on over here. Excuse me. Yeah. I don't know. It won't work for some reason. That's okay. I'll upload everything on Rockfin afterwards. Don't worry. So, yeah, like I was saying. So before my internet got cut off, like I was saying, the Iraq War is it's a rabbit hole of atrocities, and I think again that's an understatement. This is it's so bad, and you look, for example, at Fallujah, right? Fallujah is a city in Iraq that is, it used to be very beautiful. It's nicknamed the city of mosques, right? Because, hold on, let me show you why. You're going to understand why. Here you go. So, I pulled that up for you. I hope you can see that. There you go. Yeah, it has, it has tons of minarets, right? Tons of mosques. So it's very famous for that. And unfortunately, the Americans completely destroyed it. They destroyed it twice, actually. If I'm not mistaken, there were 2 battles of Fallujah. And, not just the Americans, but of course, Al-Qaeda and ISIS afterwards, which are products of America and Britain. And they fought over that city twice, and they used white phosphorus, which is, these are chemical weapons. They're banned, but of course the United States doesn't care. They also used depleted uranium. Now, this is radioactive stuff, right? And the reason they would use this in tank shells, in armor-piercing rounds, in any sort of rocket-propelled grenade, they would use depleted uranium because it makes it pierce armor more effectively, which sounds great, from, I guess, a technical point of view. But you know what it's done to people? Do you know what it's done to the people of Iraq, to the people of Fallujah? To this day, we're in the year 2021 now. There are children being born with birth defects that are so horrible. I mean, I can't, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. The birth defect rate in Fallujah is higher than it was in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which, the 2 cities that the United States nuked in August 1945 in Japan. It's higher than that. Have most of you actually heard of this before? I'm not blaming you. I'm just trying to highlight the fact that this is not talked about. And, you'll have to forgive me. I can't remember who wrote this. I think it was Counterpunch. I don't remember. I'm sorry. But someone was commenting on my thread and made the excellent point that what the United States did was double the atrocity, because they also put sanctions on Iraq, right? So that, you have a child who has birth defects, or, your DNA has been corrupted. You've perhaps developed an illness yourself from the depleted uranium, and you can't actually treat any of it because there's sanctions on the country. You can't bring in medicine. You can't bring in medical supplies. I mean, this is a fucking weapon of mass destruction. Okay, and that's not an understatement. That's sorry, that's not an overstatement. That's really what it is. The pictures are so horrifying and heartbreaking, and again, what my point here, what I'm trying to say is that there are so many things that have happened in Iraq that are not talked about enough, that are not reported in the media, they're beyond just war crimes. It's legitimately terrorism. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if there's a word for that except evil. And it's so horrendous. And like I said, you have all of these journalists, or so-called journalists, they're propagandists. They are mouthpieces for the war machine, right? That are still working today on TV. Like, it's unbelievable. And they whitewash people like George Bush. Like, Ellen brings George Bush on her show, or I think it was Colbert. I could be mistaken. I don't know which one of these talking heads brought Rumsfeld on his show. Donald Rumsfeld. I mean, or Colin Powell. Colin Powell was speaking at the DNC convention. We covered that together. Colin fucking Powell, the guy I just showed you who brought cartoons to the United Nations as proof of weapons of mass destruction. I mean, you should be ridiculed to the end of time for having done that shit. But he's now like a keynote speaker at the Democratic Party's convention. What is going on here? What is going on here? And then, there was an article I saw the other day. Some local newspaper in Texas was doing an interview with George Bush, and he said that he was horrified by the scenes at the Capitol on January 6th. I mean, how do you... This motherfucker is the devil. He is the devil. And he's talking about being appalled by what happened on January 6th. Look at what you have done. Look at the shit that you did. You are the like, if you compile the list of all, how many people are we on Earth now? 8 billion, 9 billion? I don't know what it is anymore. If you compile the list, okay, and you went all the way to the bottom of that list of people who should be talking about atrocities, George Bush would be right at the bottom. Like, you are the last motherfucker alive who should be talking about being shocked at scenes of violence and especially in a political context. I mean, you are, go to hell. Seriously, go to hell. And Joe Biden, of course, who's president now, this motherfucker, I mean, this guy has been wanting to go to war with Iraq since 1998. And if you go and you look at the Senate hearings that they had conducted, one of the people who spoke there, who actually, I interviewed him for my episode, which came out yesterday. His name is Scott Ritter. Okay. And Scott Ritter, he was a United Nations weapons inspector. I mean, chief weapons inspector, by the way. And I mean, this guy knows his stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? And not just any weapons inspector, he was in Iraq. This guy was in charge of dismantling Iraq's Scud missiles and, making sure that they don't have weapons of mass destruction from 1991 to 98. If anyone knows their shit about Iraq, it's him. Like, literally, there's no one more qualified. And it was a real privilege to talk to him. And, go watch the episode because it's about the Iran nuclear deal, right? So just type Richard Medhurst, the communique, and Iran nuclear deal. It'll come up immediately, right? So that's the last episode I did just now for Press TV. And I mean, he was in the Senate with Joe Biden, right? And I mean, the guy was just twisting his words to make it look like, oh, well, you've made us come to our milk now. And, basically you've given us what we need to make a decision. And this shows you how bloodthirsty Biden was back all the way back in 98. And then, of course, in 2002, he's holding these Senate hearings that are a complete sham. And Scott Ritter is trying to warn people like, yo, there are no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. I know because I was in charge of overseeing that. There are no fucking weapons of mass destruction. And no one would listen. And this piece of shit is now the president, Joe Biden, this motherfucker. I mean, just the things that I've told you about now, right? About what happened in Iraq, the birth defects, the Mahmoudiyya massacre, the Haditha massacre, Nisour Square, Abu Ghraib. This is not even 1/10 of 1% of what happened in Iraq. And instead of rejecting all of these propagandists and these politicians who helped start that war, people were coming here and saying that you should go and vote for Joe Biden. What is wrong with you? Like, it's not just a question of his policies are complete shit and he's a fucking liar. No. Look what he did to Iraq. Look what he helped do in Iraq. How dare you? What is wrong with you? How can you pardon him for that shit? How can you pardon him for that shit and make the case for him? How dare you? Have you lost all sense of morality? Do you not understand what happened in Iraq? That's the only explanation that I can find, that people just don't understand. They just don't get it. And that's just one thing. Never mind all the other things, in his so-called career. So it's beyond heartbreaking. It is truly, again, I say this, it's the worst atrocity of the 21st century, the invasion of Iraq, because, I'm speechless. And all of it is connected, really. If you want, you can say the war on terror, I guess, because that's been their justification for all of it, right? And again, I don't know where it cut off before when I was talking, but the point that I was trying to make is that, the U.S. regime, they were making two cases to push the war in Iraq. One was that Saddam has weapons of mass destruction, which is a fucking lie. And I mean, yeah, he did in the first Gulf War because the United States sold them to him. And he was gassing Kurds and he was gassing the Iranians, right? Professor Merendi that I've had on the show, he was fighting that war from, when was it again, 80 to 88. And I mean, he suffered a chemical gas attack from chemical weapons that were sold to Saddam by the US. There's a video of Donald Rumsfeld coming in and shaking hands with Saddam, right? So they gave him those weapons. And but we're talking about 2002, 2003. So in 2002, 2003, they're lying. There are no more weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. There's nothing. And the second case that they're trying to make is that Saddam Hussein is linked to Al-Qaeda. And not only that, but he's going to give them weapons of mass destruction as well. He's going to give nuclear weapons to Al-Qaeda. I mean, I've explained to you multiple times how absurd this is, because Saddam Hussein, I mean, the guy is a Ba'athist. It's a Ba'athist regime. It's a secular regime. They're completely opposed to, people like Al-Qaeda. They're enemies. I mean, this is what I was saying before. You didn't have any kind of extremism under Saddam. I mean, yeah, sure, you have the Saddam regime, but you don't have this kind of shit. You don't have this sectarian violence, which was fueled by the United States. Yeah, you had sectarian issues, 100%, but not on the scale that they are trying to make you believe, because they go back to this lie that, like the Arabs, they're so uncivilized there, boy. Always fighting between themselves over religion. No, this is horseshit. No. The West, the United States, the CIA, MI6, they prey on this. They exacerbate it. I'm not saying that, this is not speculation. That's from WikiLeaks. That's from the U.S. Embassy in Damascus in 2006. They're saying we have to prey on often they acknowledge in the cable that it's exaggerated. It's not real. We have to prey on Sunni fears of Shia influence from Iran. They know this shit. They provoke sectarian violence on purpose. And then they turn around and say, hey, that's got nothing to do with us. No, these are just savage Arabs. Fuck you. So don't ever buy that bullshit from anyone who says that kind of stuff. People are not inherently violent and sectarian. There was, I can speak for Syria, just Syria alone. I can tell you that you did not have this, right? So they lied through their goddamn teeth. And again, I know this is a long segment. It's important though, because, we're 18 years later and the war is still, they're still under occupation, the Iraqis, and they voted. This is again one of the big ironies. You have the U.S. that invades Iraq to give them democracy, right? So-called democracy. And then now that they have a parliament that is, accepted by the United States, they don't listen to it. Because after Trump assassinated Soleimani, the Iraqi parliament voted to kick out all foreign troops. Do you think the Americans listened to that? Do you think the British listened to that? They're still there. They're still there. Right? And this excuse that they're there just to fight ISIS, this is horseshit. This is fucking horseshit. They are illegally occupying Iraq. End of story. I don't care what justification they give. They're illegally occupying Iraq. All right? And this is 18 years later, and people just forget about it, and they act like, you know, it's nothing. No, it's more than it's the worst thing that's happened in this century, I think, honestly. And it's horrible. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It really is. That country, what they did to Iraq. I mean, the politicians responsible, they should be facing a fucking, you know, crimes against humanity tribunal, just like you saw in Nuremberg after World War II. And when they held that in Nuremberg, I mean, they went after everyone, right? Of course, they tried to get as many from senior Nazi leadership as they could. And they had people like Goering, who was the head of the Air Force. But they didn't stop there, right? They went after everyone, like mayors, judges, everyone who's involved, because that was a murderous, genocidal regime. The Nazis, the entire apparatus was murderous and genocidal. And so my point here is that if you were going to, I think Noam Chomsky has said this before, right? The war in Iraq, the invasion of Iraq in 2003, these crimes that were committed against Iraq, this is exactly what the Allies prosecuted the Nazis for. It's the same shit. So, you know, Joe Biden, I mean, this motherfucker should be in a dock, right? In a jail cell. He should be locked away for what he did to Iraq. Every single person who participated in that shit, they have so much blood on their hands. And it makes me angry. It makes me upset. It makes me really, So yeah, that again, it's ridiculous. And ironically, I remembered one thing. I think this was I remember they captured Saddam in December of 2003, right? It was in December in any case. And I remember that day, and like we had to do some kind of project in English class, and instead of working on it, I was surfing on MSN.com at the time, right? For news, because I wanted to see what was happening with Saddam. I wanted to know what was happening with the war, and I got into shit for that. But it's kind of ironic thinking back. Like, yeah, I actually ended up having to, I actually ended up doing journalism, and it's kind of sad that war is still a thing, and Iraq is still not recovered, right? And one more thing that I would add, which was really eye-opening, if you go and watch Once Upon a Time in Iraq, and again, I don't agree 100% with that production, because I mean, the entire premise, like the BBC helped sell that war. So if they come now after 20 years and do a documentary about like, oh, how bad the war was for Iraqis, like, yeah, you should have said that before you were fucking selling the war, not after the fact, after you were complicit in that. But anyway, there was a part where this Marine, he's talking about how they were attacking, again, I think it was Fallujah, and he said like you had all the minarets, like this is at the crack of dawn, and the minarets, the mosques were calling the people of the city to come defend the city. And I was like, man, like this, it's just not, it hasn't changed. Like this is exactly like 1,000 years ago when the Crusaders were coming to this exact same spot, to the Levant, to Jerusalem, to Syria, to Damascus, and trying to conquer us. Nothing has changed. Like it the same thing, right? Unbelievable. So anyway, I don't even know if my internet is still working, but I'm here. We got 171 people watching. Thank you so much. Make sure you hit the like button because my live stream has been cut off 4 times already. I don't even know what. And we need to boost the algorithm as much as we can. Pepper Rant says, yeah, unfortunately, stuff like this or stuff like that is never talked about here in the USA. Our government does a great job of making us fight each other and not them. Yeah, of course. And even on an international scale, if you look at most wars, what is it fundamentally? You have working class people. You have, the common, the average Joe, right, being sent to kill another average Joe that he's been like brainwashed to hate. That, fundamentally, these two people might not have any problems with each other, but the government's brainwashed them into dehumanizing others. It's horrific. Maxim says freedom ain't free. It's $1.05. Yeah, well, again, how I always point out how they name things the opposite of what it is. Yeah, well, when they call it, Operation Iraqi Freedom, yeah, it's the opposite, right? Speaking of freedom. And I mean, look at Iraq. Is Iraq a democracy today? Even if it really were a democracy, apparently it doesn't matter because the US is still occupying it. So, I mean, you can't really be a democracy if you're under occupation because you're under occupation. So, I mean, like, what was all of this for? What was the point? And, they created the conditions that gave rise to ISIS. They fucking funded these bastards. And then they're like, oh, no, we're here to solve the problem. Right? I mean, this is like... So we're gonna get to a bunch of segments. Again, I thank you for your patience and still tuning in despite the technical difficulties. Let's go full speed ahead. I'm just gonna have a sip. Yeah. One of you pointed out like the CARES Act, the HEROES Act. That's what I was talking about. I'm just gonna have a sip of my drink and please consider donating so I can upgrade this piece of shit computer, which is it's showing its age now. So we want to fix that. And yeah, we'll go right to the next one. Mona is asking if my PayPal works. Yes. So, hold on. Let me do a little update about that. So you remember that PayPal and Venmo limited my account because some of you dared to put the word Syria in your kind donations when you sent them to me. And so they fixed the issue. So they got back to me and said that the account is no longer limited. But what they're still doing is putting your donations aside. So like if you go and you write Syria now again, or I think also Iran, Palestine, like they'll still put it aside. And in some cases they sent them back, right? And I just feel bad for troubling you guys. I'm sorry about that. And what's annoying is I can't even read what you said. They'll just send an email, like it's so Orwellian. They'll say like, we detected, our systems have detected hereby some peculiar activity, yes. And we want to put this under thorough examination. What the fuck was it? What did you detect? I'd love to know. And so, yeah, they lock it for like, I don't know, sometimes a week, a few days, I don't know. But anyway, it's back to normal, thankfully. Thank you for sharing on Twitter and, sounding the alarm. I guess it worked. I don't know. It still pissed me off that I had to fill in their fucking questionnaire. Like, what does that explain the reference to Syria? What is there to explain? Are you fucking blind? It says love to Syria. That's it. What do you want me to explain? Why should I have to explain that? Again, they would have never said that. They would have never done the same thing if someone had written love to Israel, right? Could you imagine PayPal limiting someone's account because they received a donation that says love to Israel? Never. Not in your wildest dreams. So, I mean, yeah, there you go. But, people keep saying get crypto. I have crypto, by the way. So everything is in the description. And regardless, I mean, I'm sorry for the trouble that it's caused you guys most of all, because you're being very generous and kind, and they're just jerking, they're jerking us around. So I'm sorry about that. And, I'm really grateful for all your donations, your help. And, I couldn't do this without you. So thank you so much. So yeah, I just wanted to give you that quick update. Although, yeah, with YouTube, I don't know if I can put Syria in the title yet. I think that's still faux pas. Wonderful, right? So we got a super chat over here from Adrian Byers. Says Palestine is #1. You know it, baby. You know it. Hold on. I'll have to reach over here because I can't. Hold on. The phone is giving me internet, so I can't really see. We got one over here from Eric on PayPal. Eric says, well, there's no note attached, but thank you nonetheless. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We got something on Venmo as well from Neil. Says, you need a new laptop, Habibs. Yeah, I do. I need a new computer for sure, because this is unacceptable. I mean, I can't, no, this is not working for me. And like I said, you know, I built my own computers, right? So this one is 7 years old now, and we need a little building to be undertaken. Maybe we'll do a live stream like that, right? It has nothing to do with politics. We'll build a computer together live. How about that? A streaming rig. So anyway, let me just continue with the next segment. All right, one second. 1 second, everybody. God, that really sucked with the internet being a bitch. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay, so in the United Kingdom, you might have seen these protests that have been taking place in the last couple of days. Let me give you the background information about what's happening. Okay, so this started out with Sarah Everard. Okay, that's her picture. So she was murdered by a cop. Okay, by someone who works in the Met. So when we say the Met, we mean the Metropolitan Police, basically the London Police. So she was murdered by a cop, and this sparked huge outrage. Her body was just recently found, and the guy's been arrested and charged with her murder, not convicted yet, but it sparked huge outrage. And so people they went and they held a vigil for her. Okay, where was this in I think Clapham? So they went and they held a vigil for her. Okay, yeah, Clapham Common, and the cops, the police. Again, keep in mind, this is the exact same police force, the London Met. They started brutally arresting everyone, and it was, again, mostly women. So, I mean, just think of how insensitive, and again, that's kind of an understatement. Just think of how insensitive that is. Like, one of you just murdered a woman on her way home when she's walking home, and now you're trying to, like, you're trying to shut up other women that are just holding a vigil. I mean, it's really disgusting. Look at this, honestly. You would think that they're arresting violent criminals or something. I mean, how do you justify this? This is absurd. Yeah, so that was, I mean, it's insane because the London Met doesn't even want to apologize, right? They won't even apologize for it. And they're saying that it was justified. See, Met Police Commissioner Cressida Dick defended the police's widely criticized response to the vigil by saying that concerns over the spread of coronavirus amid the really big crowd led to officers to become involved. I think involved is not really the right term here. Yeah, the police's actions at the vigil prompted fury across the country and across the political spectrum in the run-up to the UK lawmakers voting to pass a controversial bill Tuesday that will expand policing powers. And now we get to the next part. Okay, so I mean, this is really this is not a joke. What's happening in the UK? So now what they're trying to do, they're trying to pass a policing and crime bill that, you know, it's a bit of an omnibus, right? So it's got tons of legislation in it. It's a mammoth piece of legislation. And, you know, it has things, for example, like life sentences for killer drivers. Except I'm sure Anna Sekulis, the CIA spy who killed Harry Dunn, she won't be facing any jail time. And, you know, it has harsher sentences for a wide variety of crimes. However, if you go and you look under Clause 59, this is about what the police can do to protesters. And I'm not just talking about like a group of people protesting, even just one person. Okay? So let's take a look at that. Okay? Let's take a look at this bill. Here's just one headline from Insider. It says Boris Johnson to make protests that cause annoyance illegal with prison sentences of up to 10 years. Annoyance. That's what they're saying. Annoyance. So this is from the BBC. What powers do police have now? Right now, if the police want to place restrictions on a protest, they generally have to show it may result in serious public disorder, serious damage to property, or serious disruption to the life of the community. Okay? They can also impose specific measures on the routes of marches. When it comes to major events, such details are typically thrashed out with the organizers weeks in advance. So how will the bill change those powers? Police chiefs will be able to put more conditions on static protests. They will be able to impose a start and finish time. They will be able to set noise limits, and they will be able to apply these rules to a demonstration by just one person. So taken to an extreme, let's say there's an individual holding a protest placard while blasting out their views on a speaker. If they refuse to follow police directions over how they should conduct their protest, they could be fined up to £2,500. It will also become a crime to fail to follow restrictions the protesters ought to have known about, even if they had not received a direct order from an officer. I mean, this is unbelievable. And the proposed law includes an offense of intentionally or recklessly causing public nuisance. So give me a second. I had this. Yeah. So this is really interesting over here. Do you remember the statue that was toppled last year during the protests? Do you remember this? During the George Floyd protests, you had some Black Lives Matter protests then happening in the UK. And in Bristol, they toppled the statue of a slave trader. You remember that? And everyone in government was horrified. Oh my God. You're horrified that a statue of a slave trader was thrown into the dock? Why? Do you like slave traders? What is wrong with you? So they're also increasing the punishment for people who do shit like that, right? So I think they're taking it from 3 months to 10 years, right? They're taking it from 3 months to 10 years. So like if you topple a statue like that, even if it's a slave trader, you could go to jail for 10 years, up to 10 years, right? I mean, this is really, wow. This is great, right? The UK is such a democracy, right? I just love that. So if you look down here again, I told you about Clause 59, right? So Clause 59 would abolish the common law offense of public nuisance and replace it with a new statutory offense of intentionally or recklessly causing public nuisance. Now, this phrase, what does that mean? A public nuisance? Like, how do you define that? How do you define a public nuisance? I mean, for a law, I feel like, especially a law that is so not just controversial, but you know, it has a direct impact on people's right to assembly, right to express their views, right to protest in a supposed liberal democracy, right? Shouldn't you maybe define what that is? What is a public nuisance? Define that. And what does that mean with sound limits? Like, are they going to bring a decibel meter with them? They're going to tell you like, oh, nothing above 60 decibels. What is that? And notice something. This has nothing to do with the pandemic. There's no language in here about the pandemic. It's just nuisance. You're annoying. Well, who gets to define what annoying is? Isn't a protest supposed to be annoying so that, people pay attention to the cause? I don't know. I thought I thought that's a given. So again, keep in mind, this has nothing to do with health concerns like they're pretending, right? Because they're saying, oh, we had to break up the Sarah Everard vigil because of health concerns, because of the pandemic. And when I was in London, when I was covering the Assange hearing, I went to one of the vigils for Assange, which was at Piccadilly Circus, right? And, Piccadilly Circus, you're in central London. You're minutes away from Soho, right? So, I mean, there were tons of people that were violating the rules, and they were only picking on the Assange activists. Isn't that weird? I'm not exaggerating. They literally followed us to fucking Soho. There was a cop. Hold on. Do you remember this picture? I was filming them. There were so many cops. There were 30, 40 cops. For what? 40 fucking cops. What are you doing? Do you remember this? Look at that. This dude was standing a few meters away from me with a fucking camera, just filming everyone. What is that? Why are you doing that? Look, people just standing around with signs that say free Assange, and they're filming everyone. And you know what they were doing? The cops were coming up and they're saying shit like, oh, well, you guys, you can't do this because, you need to inform us beforehand. And they're trying to find out who organized it. And people trying to explain to them no one organized it. It's just people come for the vigil. Right. And they're like, no, you have to go home. You can't, you have to go home, and we're going to follow you. We're going to follow you to make sure that you go home. And if you come back, we're going to find you. But again, my point here is that there's a double standard because we're in central London. There's people literally meters away that are also gathered together, and they didn't care. They left them alone. And they were following the Assange protesters. They were following us to the next district who does that, right? So this is not the only issue because it's okay. Just before I move on to the other issues, speaking of Bristol, that slave trader statue in Bristol that was thrown into the dock, which caused such outrage. Oh no! Speaking of Bristol, they had a huge. The media is calling it a riot, right? So people have been protesting because they've been saying, kill the bill. We need to kill this bill that is going to limit people's right to protest. And again, it has nothing to do with pandemic. There's not about that. They're just saying you're annoying. We're going to fine you for being annoying. I mean, what is that? So this is what happened in Bristol, right? They're saying that this is from the BBC. Police attacked as, quote, kill the bill demo turns violent. Yeah. I love how they reserve the violence condemnation for people who are, fighting for their democratic rights, but not for the police, right? Who murdered a woman and then tried to shut down a vigil full of women who were just peacefully standing there, gathered together to mourn. That's not violent. Really. Wow. So they're saying, oh, protesters have attacked police after, and they're making it out to be like the French Revolution. But to be fair, they did do a little Parisienne, right? So in Paris, quand il y a des émeutes, on brûle des bagnoles, c'est comme ça. So I think they burned 2 police cars, right? And I mean, they're just trying to make it out to be like, oh, this is just violent people. Like, no. These are people who actually care about the legislation that is being passed, and they hate it, and they're rightfully concerned. And you, if you were doing your fucking duty as journalists, you would also be concerned about that shit instead of trying to paint them as them being violent. No, I think the police are being violent, and that's not an understatement, right? Excuse me, that's not an overstatement. Because look, again, this is not about COVID. This is about muzzling people who protest. And they're even doing it for one fucking person. You saw that. It says even one person. One person. And they're saying if you don't comply, you're going to be fined. And it's not just this. It's not the policing and God, I forget the title of the bill. Policing, sentencing, and crimes bill, right? So it's not just about this. You guys remember what we covered. We covered the spy cops bill, right? The CHIS bill, the Covert Human Intelligence Sources bill. So what does this bill do? It lets police, not just police actually, it lets any undercover agent, even from, it doesn't have to be the police only. It could be from gambling, health, and any kind of undercover work for the government. It lets them commit criminal acts. And I'm not exaggerating that. It literally says it's a criminal authorization for undercover agents to just do whatever they like. And it's unbelievable because this legislation, it went through the House of Commons, which is like the British equivalent of the House, right? So what happened with Labour, there's no opposition, right? Keir Starmer was like, no, none of you are going to vote against the bill. You just abstain. But I mean, it's the same thing as just voting yes, right? You're just letting it through. So they let the fucking bill through, knowing that with this bill, okay, with the CHIS bill, a cop or anyone who's working in an undercover capacity, could be also for MI5, they can rape someone, they can torture someone, they can kill someone and do it with impunity. And so I think I have to issue one small correction, though. I think I do have to issue a correction because I had previously thought that Keir Starmer had just let it go straight away. I think they tried to put a motion, they tried to put forward a motion to get that out, but it was voted against. In any case, my point is it goes to the House of Lords, which is like the Senate, okay? I'm really trying to simplify here, but it goes to the House of Lords, and they put in 2 amendments, right? I think Chakrabarti tried to get in a third one, but they put in 2 amendments saying that, we're not going to let police or undercover agents commit rape and kill people under this bill. We can't have that. So they removed that and they sent it back to the Commons, right? And what do? They vote against the fucking amendment. So they basically put back murder and rape and all these crimes back into the bill. And it fucking passed. And it received royal assent. So that's a law now in the United Kingdom. This shit over here is a fucking law. This is legislation, right? So I mean, the language in it is unbelievable. I mean, if you look at, just let me show you something over here. Yeah, look. So they're saying here that they have some safeguards for juveniles, right? But I mean, who says that these risk assessments are going to be appropriate, right? They're saying that if someone is under the age of 18, or they have perhaps an illness, like they're disabled, that you can't take advantage of them, basically, right? And you need to get an exception approved for that. Okay, who's going to do that? Who's qualified to do that? And just the entire premise, like this bill is literally discussing which people in society are okay to exploit by the fucking government. We should not be having this conversation. What is this shit? What is this shit? This is a police state, literally. I mean, look, let's not kid ourselves. Is this anything new? No. They've been getting away with murder the entire time. And the reason people nicknamed this the Spy Cops bill is because Spy Cops was an entire scandal where you had women that had been tricked into relationships by undercover agents, right? And this, they did a whole inquiry about it. And, of course, no one is really held accountable. So they've been getting away with this the entire time. They're just trying to legalize it now. They're just trying to put it into the books, which should concern everyone. And I mean, it's disgusting, right? It's absolutely disgusting. They're just openly saying they're going to make criminal exemptions. Authorization of criminal conduct. It's just straight up black and white. Like, yeah, we're going to do what the fuck we like. We are going to act like criminals. They're legalizing all crimes for undercover agents. And again, it's interesting if you look at who gets to benefit from this, right? So you'll forgive me. I had this pulled up over here. I think it was with yeah, there we go. So they're talking, this can apply to police forces, intelligence services, armed forces, revenue and customs, the Home Office, other bodies. This includes the Environment Agency, Financial Conduct Authority, Food Standards, the Gambling Commission. I mean, even if you're going to play devil's advocate here about this bill, why are you giving so many departments and so many bodies the right to act like criminals? Isn't that going to increase the risk that someone would abuse this? What is this shit? It's unbelievable. Honestly, it's unbelievable. It's disgusting. And what's terrifying is that most people in Britain don't even know about this, right? So while it's, I mean, it's good that people have found out about, you know, the anti-protest bill, or again, the policing. Christ, I'm gonna balls this up again. The policing, sentencing, and crimes bill, right? So while my point is here is that while people found out about the policing, crime, and sentencing bill, and they're protesting against that, and they're saying kill the bill, I'm pretty sure most people don't know that the Spy Cops bill just passed. And you have also the Overseas Operations bill. Do you remember that one? We covered that as well. It's this piece of legislation over here, right? So this essentially lets British troops commit war crimes, and it openly says that the statute of limitation is 5 years, okay, and then after that you can't prosecute them for it. It's crazy. And they try to sell this in Parliament by saying, oh, this is to protect our troops. And do you know how they're arguing for this? They're saying that, look, we spent so much money on the inquiries into war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan, and nothing came of it. No one was prosecuted. So their point is that, look, there are so many Iraqis and Afghans that are bringing false charges against British troops, and they're wasting our time and our money, and they're falsely accusing our troops of war crimes. So we need this to protect them. We're going to put a statute of limitation. If the crime is older than 5 years, we're not going to prosecute. We're not going to look into it. What the fuck? Dude, let's get something straight. The United Kingdom's very presence, the moment they set fucking foot on Afghan soil or Iraqi soil, that was a crime of aggression. That was a war of aggression. Okay? And again, my point here is that they've already been getting away with this shit, but now they're just trying to put it, in the books. They're trying to openly legalize what they've been doing already, because the fact that no one was prosecuted after the the Australian one was the Brereton report, and then in the UK, I completely forgot about the name, but the inquiry that they did, I mean, no one was prosecuted because you covered it up, not because the war crimes didn't take place. I mean, the Afghan boy, Saifullah Gharabyar is his name. This guy watched British troops execute his family. They executed his brothers, uncles. I mean, what do you think? He just made that up? Your failure to prosecute anyone for that, covering that up, does not mean the war crimes didn't take place. That happened in 2011, in February 2011. British SAS D Squadron. And so, I mean, these motherfuckers, they've been covering up war crimes and then saying like, oh, it's just these brown people that keep lying. So obviously it's all effective. We're not going to look into war crimes. No. Let's just protect our troops. We need to protect our troops. Fuck you, man. So look at what's happening in the UK, right? Look at what's happening. And by no means am I saying the UK was perfect, huh? No, absolutely not. But I think it's just an indication of how brazen they've become. They don't even care to hide it now. They're trying to pass the anti-protest bill. They're trying to pass this overseas operations bill to protect their own troops from war crimes, which they don't even investigate in the first place. And they're trying to pass this covert human intelligence sources bill, the spy cops bill, so that they can just let undercover agents do whatever they like and face no repercussions. I mean, this is frightening, right? This is insane. So yeah, I think people have a right to be fucking outraged. As a matter of fact, I don't think enough people are outraged. I don't think they even understand the full scope of what's going on. I don't think we even know the full scope of what's going on, right? This is very, this runs very deep, but we know enough to be outraged. And I just want to, again, give you a reminder. What is the main reason it stays? Why are all these countries in Syria? What did they tell you? What did they tell you? Say, oh, the regime is cracking down on protesters. Do you remember that shit? The regime is cracking down on protesters. They were killing and brutalizing innocent protesters. What the fuck is this then? How can you treat a group of women like that after you, the police, murdered one of them, right? You murdered an innocent woman on her way home. And then you brutalize people just holding a vigil. And then you're jailing Julian Assange, doing the bidding of the Americans. And then you're arresting, you remember even Eric? They arrested Eric, the really cool guy with the kufia, who was also Team Assange. I mean, and then you look at how protesters were treated in the US, right? Do you remember that old man? The cops, where was that, in Buffalo, I think, Buffalo Springs? They just pushed him over and cracked his fucking skull and left him on the ground. Have you ever seen someone in Syria do that shit? Dude, the NYPD was running people over with their fucking cars in broad daylight. Did you see anything like that happening in Syria? You know you fucking didn't. And they want to justify wars over that. But the shit they do in broad daylight, that's okay. And now they're passing laws to legalize it too. What the fuck? I mean, talk about hypocrisy. Talk about fucking hypocrisy, man. These are the most authoritarian regimes on the planet. If they really had an issue with authoritarianism, first of all, they wouldn't treat their own citizens like this. You know, you don't see someone like George Floyd. You don't see a black man being strangled to fucking death in the street in Syria, right? By cops. You don't see Syria offering support to Saudi Arabia, which is, I mean, you want to talk about human rights abuses? I think it's just been a year that women can drive now. Like, I think it's just a year. Up until a year ago, they couldn't even drive in that country. Like, they still need a male companion to go out the house. You want to talk about authoritarian, about terrorism? Motherfuckers. They love authoritarianism. They love that shit. Look at what big tech is doing. Look how they're kicking off indie journalists. They love that shit. The UK and the US, they love it. And then they point the finger at other countries and use it as an excuse to invade them. Fuck out of here. So yeah, the UK is turning into an even more, you know, just shameless, just absolutely shameless authoritarian country. And it's just, I'm not surprised. Like, I'm disgusted by it, but I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all. And just to put this into context, right? Just to put this into context, Sarah Everard, the woman who was murdered by that man in the Met. So I'm going to pull up her picture again, right? I mean, just to make my point to you, if Sarah, for example, if the guy who killed her was working as an undercover agent and he had tricked her into a relationship, or not even, just working as an undercover agent, he would not be punished for that. He would have gotten away with murder, literally. If that does not scare the shit out of you, I don't know what does. And, you know, it's not just a question of, and again, I'm not making this up. Like, this is a thing that has happened. There are several women, there are many women who have been tricked into relationships by undercover agents and had their lives completely ruined, right? So this is real. And the thing is, this doesn't stop there, right? They also go after journalists. The whole point, they infiltrate human rights groups. They infiltrate, groups of activists. And if you look at the legislation in the CHIS bill, the Spy Cops bill, they say that this is legal if it's in the pursuit of protecting Britain's economic interests. What does that mean? Again, with this vague shit, like in the anti-protest bill, they say public nuisance. What's a public nuisance? Define that. And in this case, what does that mean? Britain's economic interests. Like define that shit. You're gonna assassinate people now, because they made the wrong investment. Expand, elaborate. What does that mean? I mean, if we're being honest, they don't even need to. Just the fact that they're saying we will kill you for fucking with our money is like scary enough. What more do you need? The government is literally telling you, you fuck with our money, we will exploit you. We will, we can get away with killing you. I mean, what more do you need? You think I'm making that up? I've shown this to you before, right? Let's pull it up over here. I've shown this to you before. I wish I was making this up. I'm not. Here's the CHIS bill, right? Look. So a criminal conduct authorization is necessary on grounds falling within this subsection if it is necessary in the interests of national security, which again, I mean, this is completely abstract and absurd. They will invade other countries and commit genocide in the name of national security, right? B, for the purpose of preventing or detecting crime or of preventing disorder. Again, what is disorder? People organizing protests? Being a public nuisance? What does that mean? And then C, in the interests of the economic well-being of the United Kingdom. I mean, holy shit, like that's the trifecta, right? That's the trifecta. Like they've got all of it down, right? There you go. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, frankly. So I don't think enough people in Britain know about this, and they should. They should be outraged about this as well. And yeah, it's just astounding what's going on, really. I'm disgusted, but I'm not surprised. So you'll excuse me. I'll read your super chats in just a second. I just need a sip of water. If you'd be so kind to help us fund a build, right? That would be actually cool to build a computer live with you guys because this one is in tatters. It's in tatters, boy. So yeah, if you could contribute and please support independent media, I'd greatly appreciate it. Give me 1 second. I'll get some water and then read your super chats. So over here we got one from Asim. Says so basically they want to become more like their best friend Saudi Arabia, talking about the UK's bill. Yeah, basically, just do whatever they like to women, lock up journalists. Yeah, absolutely. Two birds of a feather. Absolutely. Sorry, let me put myself back on the screen. Here we go. I'm back. So thank you for the super chat. And we got one also here from Vito. Am I saying that correctly? Vito says the media, like the BBC and the UK politicians, sympathize with the Met Police while they trashed Hong Kong police for not letting the Hong Kong protesters burn down buildings and beat anyone who doesn't want violence. I mean, yeah, their regime change in Hong Kong is quite grotesque. I mean, they're literally funding people like carrying around, signs saying they want the UK to come and just like basically, revive the empire. Like I think Hong Kong was the least until 1999 to the UK, right? And then it became independent. But yeah, there's basically funding all these right wingers who want the UK to come and usurp them. And it's like the British government is fine with that, right? They're just openly saying like, yeah, we support this and we love this pro democracy movement. Really, you do? Yeah. I mean, unbelievable, man. Oh, it was 97. Baron corrected me. Thank you. It was 97. Yes, I was just talking earlier about how many countries celebrate independence from the British. What is it, like 2.5 billion people on the planet? 53 countries, something like that. I mean, it's hard keeping up. Yeah, it's a bit difficult keeping up with the most vicious empire in history. You asked me personally. I think the U.S. empire is just it's an extension of the British Empire in many ways, right? In many ways, I think it's quite obvious, and it's horrendous. Have you guys ever seen the flag of the? Hold on, let me pull that up for you. the worst flag you will ever see. Hold on, give me a second. Okay. Yeah, the East India Company. Are you familiar with their atrocities? So, this is their flag, and I think I think it's so fitting. It's so fitting. That's an atrocity of a flag, honestly. That's an atrocity, but so fitting indeed. It's really fitting. So yeah. Anyway, we got a super chat over here from Chris. Says, I was aware of the Investigatory Regulatory Act and the crime bill. Did not know about the police being able to commit crimes till recently. UK is scary. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I covered this. Again, you can call it CHIS bill. Most people refer to it as Spy Cops bill. And I covered this in October, right? So interestingly enough, I think I did this like the day before I was covering Assange's thing. So before I got to do that. And yeah, it's just like they rushed it through Parliament, right? And it shows you again how there's no opposition party, right? Like, this is what people need to understand about what's happening in the UK right now. I mean, they got rid of Jeremy Corbyn. They had this smear campaign against him that he's racist and, he's anti-Semitic. And I mean, Corbyn is one of the most anti-racist people in British politics, right? Period. So to accuse him of being a racist is absurd. They were doing this because he was pro-Palestine, right? They were doing this because he's against imperialism. They were doing this because, he was actually trying to mount an opposition. Look at Labour now. Look at Labour now under Keir Starmer, right? It's just like what you see in the US, where you have Democrats and Republicans, they're playing on the same team. It's the same shit, right? When they were passing the Spy Cops bill, which again lets UK cops torture, rape, murder, commit crimes with impunity, they were, Keir Starmer was telling the Labour Party to abstain, which essentially means let it pass, let the bill through, let it go to the House of Lords. What kind of an opposition is that? What is wrong with you? And you know what happened? I think you had 36 Labour MPs who did go against the whip, and they voted against the bill, right? So they defied the whip. They were like, no, we're going to vote against this. And, they were punished. I think you had 5 of them who were forced to resign from the front bench. And I mean, it's just obscene. Like, what? That's not an opposition party. They're just working hand in glove with the Tories, right? It's obscene. And unfortunately, even when you had Corbyn who was in charge, I mean, you had they tried to get rid of him, right? They had a vote of no confidence. There were people inside the Labour Party actively working to get rid of him, to get rid of Chris Williamson. Yeah, it's disgusting, honestly. Like both of these parties are just serving the national security interests, the economic interests of the UK. That's all they're interested in. They're not. They don't represent their constituents in any capacity. No, absolutely not. And the fact that you are seeing all of this authoritarian, dystopian legislation being passed, like the anti-protest bill, again, police crime and sentencing bill, or the Spy Cops bill, or the overseas operations bill, how the fuck is this getting through like that? They're not even trying. They're just bending over. Here, please, fuck the country, fuck the world. Scandalous, absolutely scandalous. And give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Again, I don't even know what internet I'm running on. I don't know if this is on my phone or not. I'm probably gonna exceed my cap. We got one from Hunter over here on CashApp. Says, much love to you. Thank you, Hunter. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. It's very, very generous of you. I hope I haven't missed any of your guys' donations elsewhere, because again, my internet is being a bitch, and I'm not really I don't think I'm getting notifications on everything. I'm in like full boomer mode right now. No, but seriously, this is not this is not good. Anyway, let me continue. I want to continue, and then of course, if you have questions, I'll get to them at the end with pleasure. So, thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for supporting independent media. Let me get to the next one over here. Right. So. Man, I need water. Excuse me. So yeah, I don't know if we have anyone from Iraq, from Iraq, with us, but I love the way the Iraqis speak. Right? They will pronounce like for when you say something is big, it's in Syria we say kabir, and in Iraq they'll say chabir. So I think it's also awesome the way they say that. So it's cool. Anyway, let me just get to this over here. So the mainstream media, man, they can't stop, right? Russia, which is again legally in Syria, they are in Syria legally at the invitation of the Syrian government, unlike the American invaders and their allies. Russia bombed a get-together of terrorists that were stealing Syria's oil, right? So it's important to understand that this has been going on for many years, right? At one point, ISIS had complete control of the oil fields. Again, it's just 50 flavors of jihad, right? It goes from the hands of one terrorist to another. And at the end of the day, the goal of this, it's not just to make money. Specifically when it comes to the United States, their goal of occupying Syria's oil fields is to deprive the Syrian people of income, right? This is part of the strategy of let's strangle the Syrian people. Because again, if you look at the IMF figures from 2011, oil accounted for 25% of government revenue. A quarter of the government's revenue is coming from oil. So, think of how many millions Syrians are being deprived of. And yesterday, okay, you had the Russians. They bombed two places. So one of them was in northwestern Syria. So we're talking about Bab al-Hawa. This is the crossing between Turkey and Syria, right? And then, of course, the mainstream media, the way they report it, as usual, they say that, the Russians and the Syrian regime bombed a hospital, right? So as they say here, the U.S. sharply condemned Monday a wave of Russian and Syrian regime airstrikes over the weekend that targeted a hospital and killed several civilians. I mean, if you ask me, all right, I mean, this does not look like a hospital. Those are oil tankers. That's not a hospital, okay? That is, no. These motherfuckers, again, this is from Faris. He does great reporting. These motherfuckers are stealing millions from the Syrian people, okay? They are running an entire racket, stealing the oil from Hasake, from Deir ez-Zor, and then, taking it through into Turkey. And they've been doing this for years, right? And now they say, oh, look, the Syrians are bombing a hospital. No, that's not a hospital, okay? And they're also saying that they're targeting rebels, the Syrian National Army. The Syrian National Army. This is a front that is backed by Turkey, okay? That's what it is, because they struck two locations, right? So let me show you on the map actually over here. This was in Sarmada. Okay, so again, this is near the Bab al-Hawa crossing into Turkey. And the other place was in Qah. So, they're saying, oh, they struck the rebels and, oh, they struck a hospital. No, they didn't. They didn't. Okay, you motherfuckers were stealing oil. That's what you were doing. And, you know, they're trying to say like they hit a gas facility. No, it's not a gas facility. You're stealing oil and you're running a goddamn illegal market. It's not a gas facility. Other people that I saw, they were calling it the Russians and the Syrians bombed a civilian commercial center. What? Yeah, that's a very nice way of saying a goddamn black market for stolen oil. Yes, it's technically commercial activity, but it's fucking illegal. You're pirates. You're thieves. You're terrorists. Literally terrorists. And they're trying to portray themselves as civilians. What? No, you're not. You're plundering the fucking oil. And, you know, of course you have the white helmets who rush onto the scene, you know, and try to pretend that it's the mean old Russians. They're at it again. It's all their fault. This was a hospital. This was my friend Covert. What did he say again? He said a kitten sanctuary. Dude, I mean, who do they think they're kidding? Honestly.
صعدت قوات النظام وروسيا من قصفها على قرى وبلدات جنوب.
Right, so this is another funny thing about how they always say regime forces. It's the Syrian army, dude. Like, did you ever hear someone say the Biden regime forces? No, you say the U.S. military, the U.S. army. It's the Syrian army. I mean, you may not like the Syrian army, but you sound like a dumb fuck when you call it Assad regime forces. No, it's literally the Syrian army. It's the army. I mean, I don't know what you're saying here. Right? They don't say that for any other. They don't use that nomenclature for anyone else. Do they say the Boris Johnson regime forces? What? You would never use that for anyone else. The language is on purpose. Okay, so you know this, and they use it in every context, of course, right? So if the country does not suit Western interests, now it's a regime. Oh man, here we go again. See, what did I tell you? Assad regime, Russian strikes. Okay, well, give me an answer here. Why didn't you say the Putin regime for the Russian part? Like, why is one a regime and the other is not? Like, which one is it? No, they can't tell us. They can't tell us, man. And so, yeah, this is the border crossing that we're talking about, and the strikes at Sarmada. So this was over here, very close by, right? And what's interesting is, of course, that you know, you have Turkey that is coming out and condemning it. Okay, so Turkey's defense ministry said a missile launched by Syrian government forces had struck Qah and a truck and trailer park near Sarmada, injuring 7 civilians. Why is the Turkish defense minister involved in this? Can I understand that? Like, this is in Syria. What does the Turkish defense minister have to do with that? I'll tell you why. Because again, this so-called Syrian National Army, this is a front. Okay, it's a rebranded version of the Free Syrian Army. It's a bunch of, you know, mercenaries that have been hired by Turkey. And Idlib, which is the entire governorate, which is the entire province, if you will. It's not just a city, it's a province, right? So let me pull up the map for you again. Okay, so you have Idlib province over here. Okay, I mean, this is almost entirely occupied by jihadists right now. And that's not an exaggeration. It's, you know, you have the Turkish army that's there. They're proxies like the SNA. And then, of course, you have Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is HTS. And HTS is a rebranded version of Al-Qaeda, right? It's a rebranded version of Al-Qaeda. And, you know, they tell you in the media that, oh, well, Idlib, it's, you know, it's constantly being just ruthlessly bombed by the Russians and the Syrians, and they're only bombing hospitals. Yeah, they completely leave out the fact that they're stealing millions of dollars worth of oil. They're running a fucking racket through here, and that the city is, you know, packed with 20,000 jihadists. So that's cool. Did my internet cut out? I'm pissing off someone again. I'm pissing someone off again. I saw my internet lag for a second. So just to also tell you something else, right? The US, the United States, controls 90% now. 90% of Syria's crude reserves. Fuck me. Okay? So the Syrian oil minister, look what he said. The Americans and their allies are targeting the Syrian oil wealth and its tankers just like pirates. So his name is Bassam Tomeh. I'm not sure how to say his family name. But he said that the cost of direct and indirect damage to the Syrian oil sector stands at more than 92 billion. Now, you have to, that's not a joke, right? If I recall correctly, Syrian oil exports, they were bringing in about 30 million a month. This is pre-war, so we're talking 2011, 2010. If I recall, it's 30 million a month. Now, when we talk about damages, I mean, that's 1 month. Add up 10 years and include the fact that these terrorists, they've been making makeshift refineries, right? So they've been doing things like, polluting the environment. People are getting illnesses from that. Who's going to clean all this up? This costs money. This is damaging to the environment. It's damaging to people's livelihoods, to their health. Not to mention all the goddamn fighting on top of it, right? So he says here, what has happened all through Syria has not happened in any country in terms of preventing us from tapping our wealth resources and at the same time stopping basic commodities from reaching our country. Again, they're trying to strangle Syria. That's what it's all about. That's what it's always been. And it's really like a mafia. I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say that, right? They're sending a message to all these countries, to Syria, to Iran, to Venezuela, who have oil-based economies, right? They're telling them, you either give us a cut, you pay for protection, right? Like you see in the movies, you have some mob figure, you're going to pay him for protection. You give us a cut of your resources or we're going to fuck you. And in the case of Iran have been very smart. They understood that it's a liability to have an oil-based economy, right? So they've diversified over the last years. And one of the ways that you wean yourself off of that, you develop a nuclear energy program, right? Again, not a nuclear weapons program like they tell you. No, a nuclear program for civilian use. And the United States doesn't want that, right? No, they want to keep Iran, they want to keep Venezuela, they want to keep Syria dependent on their oil and steal it too, right? So like you give us a cut or we're going to fuck you, we're going to take everything. It's a mafia. These people are criminals and they're pirates. And just like they're stealing the oil from Syria, like you see the US has control of 90% of the crude now. You saw what they're doing also in Venezuela, right? They were stealing the oil that was sent from Iran to Venezuela. They just pirated the ships. Like, what do you call that when you board a ship and you steal its cargo? That's piracy, literally piracy. Like in the 16th century, piracy. Right, and it's not just that they're actually physically there plundering the crude in Syria. It's also that the sanctions make sure that it cripples the infrastructure. So in the case of Venezuela, for example, Venezuela has lots of crude. They can't refine it though because the infrastructure has been crumbled. Right, they can't bring in parts. So they're sitting on the world's largest reserve of crude, and they can't do anything with it. And they can't refine it for themselves, and they also can't sell it because of sanctions. I mean, it's ridiculous. These people are disgusting gangsters. And then, when, again, just to conclude, when Russia and Syria put their foot down and stop these people from smuggling and stealing the oil, they don't tell you that. They don't make any mention of this, that these motherfuckers are smuggling the oil. They're stealing it. No. It's all they hit, a gas refinery. What? It was a hospital, man. No, that's not a hospital, okay? This is definitely not a hospital. All right? Who are they kidding, honestly? Like, who are they kidding? It's common knowledge that they're stealing this crap. I showed you the clip, Lindsey Graham, Mike Pompeo talking about how the Kurds and the Americans are stealing the oil over in northeastern Syria. So in Hasakeh, Dore, that's where you have most of the oil fields, right? But one of the ways that they're bringing this into Turkey is through Bab al-Hawa now. And of course, I mean, this is nothing new. They've been doing this for a while. So, you know, it's just propaganda, right? It's just same old propaganda. And just to show you one more thing, you can see in the video here. Right, look at this. That's absurd, man. It's absurd. And hold on, can you see me again over here? Yeah, good. So just talking quickly about the white helmets. Yeah, here's another headline. Yeah, so they're saying that Russian jets hit Syrian cities near Turkish border as army artillery hits hospital. No, they they didn't hit a hospital. Okay, like these underground caves that they're using to heal Al Qaeda fighters. No, these are not hospitals. Okay, if you go on YouTube or anywhere on the internet, you'll find tons of videos of these disgusting terrorists filming themselves blowing up actual hospitals, like, you know, a hospital, not some cave construction for jihadists, an actual hospital. I saw a video just earlier, like they'll film it from afar, you know, and they're just like glorifying the fact that one of them is driving up with a truck full of explosives and then just demolishing a fucking hospital. Have you ever heard that reported? No, of course not, right? Once again, I tell you that the war on Syria, half of it is propaganda, right? A lot of it is propaganda. And the white helmets that you see over here that, they're rushing to the scene, they're trying to help. Yo, we literally know who created you and funded you. We have the fucking receipts from the FCO, Foreign and Commonwealth Office, okay? You were created by British intelligence. Don't come here and play games and act like we're stupid. We have the receipts, the documents, we know. Half the war is propaganda, man. And you know, one final thing that I would add, the white helmets, they call themselves Syria's civil defense organization. They're not. Syria already has a civil defense organization, which is internationally recognized as the official one. It's just you know, it's a propaganda tool. All they do is they pretend, you know, to be rescuing civilians, and then you see them in other videos. They're posing behind terrorists, like you know, waving the black flag of ISIS, and then we have documents from the FCO is the British equivalent of the State Department, right? So we have documents from the FCO showing us how you had all these intelligence fronts, or cutouts, if you like to call them, like Incostrat, ARC, being funded by, you know, former British diplomats, intelligence, military. They have their hands all over this thing. It's their creation, and they want to come and make you believe that this is like some kind of grassroots thing. Yo, if it was some grassroots thing, at least I could maybe respect it. It's fucking not. It's not. So, you know, what they're doing to Syria is absolutely criminal. You know, the oil, they know that we need this money. They know that Syria needs its crops, and incidentally, the places where you have the oil in Syria. So when we talk about the breadbasket region, again, I have to underline the historical, geographical importance of Syria. This is Mesopotamia, my friends. This is the cradle of civilization. This is where agriculture was invented, right? Literally. So when you look at Hasake over here, which of course, Vice News, they say like, oh, well, this is, what do they call it? Rajova or Rojava? No, it's Hasake. Okay. So you have Hasake over here, and then you have Deir ez-Zor over here, right? You have all the oil fields. And not just the oil fields, but this is where most of the crops are grown. This is the breadbasket. You have the wheat over here. Remember, Syria had so much wheat, it was exporting wheat. Now, yes, if we're going to be fair and completely objective, if you look at the years before the war, now, again, I'm not too well versed on this, but there were issues with drought. So it's not like, yeah, it's not like everything is perfect. Yeah, obviously, you have other factors at play, but you didn't have breadlines in Syria. You didn't have people living the way they are now, right? There was no hyperinflation. So if you want to come here and say that, oh, the sanctions aren't doing anything, and the American occupation, the Turkish occupation, that's not doing anything, you're a liar. This is bullshit. Okay? Syria can be self-sufficient if it's left alone. They're not letting it be self-sufficient. They're not even giving it air to breathe, right? It's criminal. And so when the Americans are occupying this region and helping and protecting the Kurds to occupy it, they're not just stealing the oil, as we said, they're also preventing Syria from accessing its own crops, right? And then you have pictures of people in bread lines. And I mean, this is just heartbreaking, right? It's heartbreaking. And what they have done to Syria is criminal beyond belief. So excuse me, I just need a sip of water again, and I'll get to your comments in just a second. Again, thank you so much for your support, and I really appreciate it. Aloha. I see it. I see what you guys are saying. So I don't think I've fully plugged the show. If you'll allow me to do that. Number one, we need a tech upgrade because this computer is not holding out. Again, I suspect it's the ISP as well. But yeah, we have issues as well here. The sound card at the very least. So please consider supporting independent media. And we have a GoFundMe up. I'll pull that up for you in just a second. I think we're almost at the goal. The link is in the description. Please consider supporting the GoFundMe. And that helps with technical upgrades. Any donation would. We also have the PayPal, of course, and the Venmo. So they've unlimited my accounts now, or shall we say, reinstated them fully. And so I think that should be good to go. Just don't say the naughty word Syria. Actually, fuck them. Say it. Like, we're not going to let them control. No, I'm not accepting that. But anyway, just scan that with your phone. I don't want to spend too much time plugging the show. I'm here to talk politics. So, I don't want to spend eons plugging the show. But we haven't had a crab dance in a while. I cannot believe we have not had a crab dance. Someone should really sign up on Patreon so we can have a crab dance. And if someone donates on the GoFundMe, I will, of course, play a crab dance as well. We have not had one in a while. I think right now we're at 393. So we have almost hit our goal. We're getting there, man. We're getting there. Look, we're just a few members away from me unveiling the new crab dance. Let's get it. And of course, the same goes for Rockfin. Please sign up on Rockfin. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no censorship bullshit. And, it's not just me who you'll be supporting. Having a different avenue, another alternative to YouTube, to Venmo, Vimeo. No, I mean, having an alternative to YouTube is really important, right? Because you saw what they've done to other channels. So you saw what they did to mine. So we can't depend on that. We can't put all our eggs in one basket. So it's good to sign up on Rockfin. Again, it's free, huh? You don't have to like actually subscribe or do the endorse thing, but you can sign up for free. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll find everyone. Just name it. Lee Camp is on there. Whitney Webb, Vanessa Beeley. You got Unauthorized Disclosure. You got Jimmy Dore, Nico, Convo Couch. Everyone's there. So hey, man, we all got the message. We're weaning off. Again, unfortunately, my computer's being shit. So right now I'm not streaming on Rockfin at this second, but usually it's always on both, and you'll find all the videos on Rockfin too. And yeah, we get paid in crypto as well, so that's pretty cool. I don't understand how it works. That's not really I don't get it, but it's better. Like they're not taking a cut like YouTube and stuff, so it is good in that. And yeah, so Ray F, thank you for your super chat. Ray says, not a religious man, but you're doing God's work, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. I am religious, and I just want to maybe make you laugh a second, because I saw some tweet yesterday about, some guy comparing Biden to Jesus. Like you saw that clip of, hold on. Let me, did you see that clip of Biden tripping on the stairs when he was going up Air Force One? I'm sure you all saw it. And this person who is clearly not well said that Biden tripped on the stairs in the same way that Jesus tripped or fell over when he was, carrying the cross. No, just no. Stop that shit. You need to stop that shit immediately. No. It's sickening, right? Do you remember how Trump supporters would do that? They would say like, oh, Trump is sent by Jesus and he's sent by God. What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you? Like, this is blue MAGA. Again, it's just another indication, an iteration of blue MAGA. It's horrendous. Like, I'm pretty sure that there are people who genuinely believe this shit. Like, they don't get it. They really don't. I'm pretty sure Jesus would not approve of bombing Syria, right? Or bombing the Levant. Pretty sure of that. So you already got a huge conflict right there. Not to mention the fact that Joe Biden is a rapist, corrupt piece of shit, warmonger. Yep. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, because I see shit like that sometimes with blue MAGA, and I'm just like, I'm stupefied. I'm just, wow, you really said that, huh? Wow. Blue MAGA is really a thing, huh? It's a thing, unfortunately. So anyway, let me show you something over here as well. Let me show you something over here. Okay, just a second. Okay. So the Israeli occupation forces, there's a video of them where they arrested a bunch of Palestinian children. Let me play it to you. So this is from March 12th, right? From Joshua Zitzer. Says, on Wednesday, Palestinian children aged 8 to 13 were manhandled by the Israeli occupation forces and detained by Israeli police near Havat Maun, an outpost in the West Bank.
איך לוקחים ילדים? איך לוקחים ילדים הקטנים? איך לוקחים ילדים? קטנים בגלל מתנחלים מחפת מעון. בגלל מתנחלים מחפת מעון. רק ילדים, מה זה? תתביישו! אתה לא מתבייש, אה? אתה לא מתבייש! אתה לא מתבייש! איך? اقعد سليم يا نديم بقلال كتفوك عوب
يا ابو شعيب خيالين ابو شعيب
عيال شو
يا ابو شعيب
אתם פושעים, אתם עושים עבודת פשע. בגלל מתנחלים מחפת מעון.
بس يجي ابوه بس يجي ابوه يجي ابوه هو اجا انا ما بدي انا مش انا خاشي ابوك يا عم
זה המספר שלה.
I mean, I'm sorry about the audio, the wind, but what is that? Like, what is that? I'm speechless. I'm really speechless. Like they just, I'm disgusted by it. But then when I think of the other crimes the Israelis have done, I'm not surprised, right? They've done far worse. I just last week I saw this video from the Right to Return marches where you had a Palestinian woman. She's just holding a flag and they just shot her. And again, they shot tons of people, right? They were purposely shooting people in the knees, shooting journalists, shooting medics. So I mean, as atrocious as this is, when I remember the war crimes, the genocide, the ethnic cleansing. Like there's nothing where they give the Palestinians any kind of mercy, right? Nothing. Even the kids, right? Disgusting. And they even, you know how Israel, they constantly call themselves, oh, we're the only democracy in the Middle East, right? All these Arabs, they're savages. No, we are the only civilized people. We are the chosen ones. You know, we are the only democracy. They even break their own laws. So by law, they're not allowed to arrest anyone under the age of 12. What is this? These kids are aged 8 to 13. Why are you manhandling a bunch of kids? Like, how much of a fucking coward do you have to be to do that? It's a kid. It's a child. You're threatened by a child? So look at this. This article is from Business Insider. So Havat Maon, again, I pretty sure that's like they renamed it from what it originally was. But they're saying Havat Maon is one of many settler outposts in the West Bank, considered illegal by international law, that is not authorized by the Israeli government. There have been several incidents in the area of Palestinian children being harassed by Israeli settlers while on their way to school. Armed military personnel reportedly took the children into the settlement and questioned them about their alleged attempted theft, according to the children's lawyer. Okay? So, do you know what they're accusing them of? These settlers, which are, I mean, they have no right to be there, as we just read. They accused the kids of trying to steal parrots. Motherfucker, you stole their land. You have no right to be there. Who the fuck are you? You are stealing their land, their fucking country. You're whining about some parrots? I don't even know if this story is true. I think it's bullshit. I think it's complete bullshit. Right? So the lawyer says that they were taken to the Havat Maon illegal outpost where the soldiers tried to get a confession from them, which is illegal. Both the Israeli police and Israeli Defense Forces, Israeli occupation forces, dispute this claim and instead insist that the young boys were immediately taken to a police station. Oh yeah, I totally believe you after that performance. So they say the boys were detained for several hours, okay? Their parents, despite multiple attempts, were unable to contact or locate their children. And yeah, I absolutely believe that because if you remember Iyad Hala, who was 32 years old. He had autism. He was murdered last year, end of May, by Israeli border police. They shot him in Jerusalem. They executed him, right? They chased him and they executed him at point blank range. Straight up execution. They knew that he's autistic, that he was unarmed, and they just executed him. They wouldn't let the family have the body. They wouldn't let the family actually see the body for like I think a day or two, right? So that's they wouldn't let his parents see their dead son's body. So the fact that they wouldn't let the parents actually contact the kids, I mean, that's, you know, I'm not surprised at all. Right? So once again, as I told you, the age of criminal responsibility in Israel is 12. 3 of the boys are aged between 8 and 11. The 2 older boys are 12 and 13 and are old enough to be charged with a crime. Again, what is this charging them with a crime? Like, you have no right to be there. It's not your land. It's not your land. You're illegally occupying it. Your laws are fucking null and void. Your laws are null and void. They mean nothing. And even these laws that they have fabricated, they violate them, right? Because again, it's an apartheid system. For Palestinians, yeah, they break whatever rules they have. It doesn't matter. So this is nothing new, huh? I want to show you something over here. So the organization that posted this video of the boys being arrested, this is their website, Beit Salam, and these are the last statistics on Palestinian minors in the custody of Israeli security forces. Let's call it what it is, Israeli occupation forces. So this last update's from January 2021, but look what they say here. Since October 2020, the Israeli prison services has stopped providing Beit Salam with figures in response to requests under the Freedom of Information Law, right? So the last figures they have at the end of September 2020, I'm going to zoom in for you so you can read that with me. 157 Palestinian minors were held in Israeli prisons as security detainees and prisoners, at least 2 of whom were held in administrative detention. Do you remember what administrative detention is? We looked at that with our previous segments, where they can just hold you indefinitely, basically, right? They just renew it. I think, what was it, every 60 days they can renew it, and they can just hold you indefinitely. So you have at least 2 kids that are being held indefinitely. Wow. Here's another great line. Another 2 Palestinian minors were held in Israel prison service facilities for being in Israel illegally. What? How are they on their own land illegally? What does that even mean? They're in Palestine. It's theirs. What? I can't. I mean, that sentence in of itself is so absurd. You have to laugh when you read it. They're in their own country illegally? Really? Not the settlers? The IPS considers these minors, both detainees and prisoners, basically criminal offenders. So, I mean, this is very serious, right? They're imprisoning children, not for civil offenses or something like that. No, for criminal offenses, right? Now, look at the statistics, okay? So back in 2008, they had, look at that, over 300 minors between the ages of 16 and 18. Insane. And I mean, one is too many. One is too many. But look at this. So the last figures we have, they've got around 150 Palestinian children being detained that are between the ages of 16 and 18. And then you have, I'd say that's around 25 minors that are under 16. And then that's the number in administrative detention. So as we said, it's 2 as far as we know. I mean, this is obscene. And you look at the sentences here. I'm struggling to understand. This is probably the combined number of years. I'm not sure if that's if that's what it's supposed to mean, but it's just unbelievable. And what is astonishing is that even despite the so-called marvel, right? Israel, they're so proud of how they've been able to vaccinate most of their population without counting the Palestinians, of course, right? Because for them, Palestinians are second-class human beings, so they don't count them. And despite that, right, what did they do? They just stuffed all these kids in jail during the pandemic, right? They refused to release them. So, I mean, my point here is that for a country that has made such an effort to be the #1 country, right, in terms of population, percentage of their population vaccinated. And again, it's not a country, is it? But they've strived to get to that goal, right? You would think they would have some mercy on the kids, right? That they would let them out of prison because they shouldn't be there in the first place. They're not violent criminals. There's a pandemic. No, they don't care. So this is from UNICEF, right? And this is from last year already, but it's still the case, as you can clearly see from the latest figures. They're not releasing any of them. So in light of the COVID-19 crisis, UN was calling for the immediate release of all children in detention, including Palestinian children, right? And they, of course, don't give a shit. They don't give a crap. And what's heartbreaking is that, I saw this video the other day of this child. I don't know how old he was. I'm guessing maybe 14, 13, I don't know, but a Palestinian kid. And, he's like kissing his mom. And then there are all these guards around him. And he just, he kisses his mom goodbye and then just walks into the jail. I mean, it's heartbreaking. Like, he knows he's going to be in there for a long time. And you have these grunts just standing around. I mean, do these people not have a conscience? Like, the guy's a fucking kid. What the fuck are you doing? And, another thing that I would say is that I don't know any country that sends the army to arrest people that are stealing parrots, allegedly, especially children. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen that? Like, just seriously for 1 second, if I told you that, or let's say not you guys, because you guys, you're switched on. But, if you told the average person who's, they don't know anything except mainstream media, right? They only know what the mainstream media tells them. If you went up to them and you told them, for example, the army in North Korea, right? They're going and arresting children for stealing parrots. They would just believe that because they've been programmed to believe that shit, right? Like it's the most absurd thing. It's the most absurd thing. But when you say that about Israel, which is true, like we have these figures, these are official figures. I don't know if they're understated or not, but even if you cut that in half, or even one is wrong, you're not allowed to say that, of course, right? Why? Because it's in the name of Israel's security, right? Israel's security becomes before Palestinian human rights, even kids. Apparently, Palestinians disturbing illegal settlers. This is so bad that they have to send a fucking army, right? And then, of course, people will say, well, no, that's not true. They're already there for security purposes. Oh, so okay, you admit that it's an illegal occupation then? Yes? When you have the army illegally occupying the West Bank, yeah, it's an illegal occupation. Oh, there's no way you can look at this and justify any of this shit as a normal, like, rational person. And the case that I would make is that I don't care if it's a kid or not. Like, these are Palestinians in Palestine. Whether it's a grandmother or a middle-aged dude or a kid, you have no right to be manhandling them and oppressing them and treating them like subhuman and illegally occupying their land. I don't care what age they are or what sex they are. I don't care. This is irrelevant. You are illegally occupying them. You have no right to be there. And you know what's on that note, I'm heartbroken for Iyad Hala because, as I said, he had autism. He was killed end of May 2020, and like you don't hear anything about that anymore, even in Israeli media, right? I think Haaretz reported a bit on it. To be fair, that was a good piece, but you know they've gone quiet, and it seems like the guy who killed him, he's not going to actually face charges, and he's not the first. He's not the first guy with autism to be killed by the Israelis, right? So I did a whole segment about that, about these heartbreaking atrocities where they've just been killing, people with disabilities or who have, autism, or perhaps, they have mental illness. They've just been killing disabled Palestinian men like they're worth nothing. It's horrific. So I'm not surprised that they also go after children who are equally vulnerable and defenseless. I mean, what are you teaching these kids? Like, what is that child going to remember from this experience? So, yeah, the shit is upsetting, man. It is. So just give me a second. I'm just trying to make sure that I didn't miss any of your guys' super chats. Again, my internet, my computer, they're being absolute crap. So I thank you so much for your patience, despite the disconnecting. And with that said, before I bid you farewell, if you can support the show, I'd be most grateful. There are many ways to support. If you want, just pick whatever's easiest for you. And again, I'll just leave it up to you, man. I'm just here to do the reporting, talk about politics, and I leave the rest to you. And I thank you so much for your generosity, for your kindness, and even just for commenting, just for liking the video, for watching, and sharing. This all makes a difference, and it's all supporting the show. So thank you so much for that. Maybe we can get one last crab dance before I go. If you want, you can support the show on Patreon for as little or as much as you'd like. And that could be $2, $1, whatever you want. Everything is fine. And if you can, please sign up on Rockfin, because this helps independent media also have another platform that is not YouTube, that is not censored. Rockfin.com/RichardMedhurst. And again, if you subscribe, which is $10 a month, you get everybody's premium. So that means everyone on Rockfin. I think it's a good deal. And you're supporting another platform, helping it grow. I think it's a very good deal. So thank you so much. And don't forget the War Criminal merch, right? So if you want the Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition Death Cult t-shirt, you guys are great because you've been tagging me on Twitter when you get them. I love seeing that. You guys are rocking them way better than me. I gotta admit. So if you want those, store.richardmedhurst.com. I will show it to you very shortly. And there you go. We're going to have a lot more, a lot of new additions very soon. So get ready for that. There we go. Store.richardmedhurst.com. So yeah, I love the lion one as well. The lion one is fire. I need to make one in Arabic though, because it's got like this Arabic styled font, but I want to make one that is actually in Arabic. So yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support. I'm very grateful. You guys are awesome. I'm seeing all the crabs in the comments. And yeah, corn pop. If Joe Biden said he was a bad dude, he's probably a good dude. Anyway, we're just rambling at this point. We're just rambling. Yalla guys, I'm gonna jet. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be well. Have a good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. And if you were watching this on replay, again, my apologies for the stream cutting, but do notify us. Do tell us that you are here with the roll call. All right, that's all from me. So I'll see you soon. TRCR says, what the fuck is a crab dance? Well, it's a celebration, okay? When someone signs up on Patreon or Rockfin or GoFundMe, we play a little celebration clip. So if you've never seen a crab dance, well, you know, that's a shame because they're awesome. Anyway, so there you go. I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cinema Guerrilla. I'm seeing. I hold on a second. Give me 1 second because I think my internet is stuck again. Are you guys seeing me? Unbelievable. Anyway, we got a crab dance in. We got a donation over here on the GoFundMe. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting the show. This one is just for you. Let's go, baby.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Lawrence also signed up on Rockfin. Thank you so much. This one goes out to you, and then that's all for me. I definitely need some sleep, and I'll see you guys very soon. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Let's go, baby.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield